weekly Network 2.0 update. Thanks for coming. Thanks for spending some time with us. And as always, we need to make sure that you know that eTruckBiz is not endorsed, sponsored, approved, or otherwise affiliated with FedEx Corporation. Biz is business support for FedEx service providers. eTruckBiz allows you to organize, optimize, and maximize your operations so you capitalize on Network 2.0. So again, we want to make sure everybody knows in a couple weeks, we're gonna like to invite you to a new 2-day seminar. Oops, whoops. Now it's a 3-day seminar, with the first day being a bonus new contractor seminar for new folks, new contractors, or if you're interested. There's a lot of you on here that are interested in getting into the business, or if you're getting into the business, we'd like to have a session just for you on March 18th for new owners. And then for everybody else and the new owners that want to stick around for a 2-day seminar, capitalizing on Network 2.0. Day one is where we'll go over the economics of Network 2.0. And day two is a lot of the operational issues that are involved with Network 2.0. So we could do that again. It's March 19th and 20th in Huntsville, Alabama, downtown at the AC. You can register at training.etruckbiz.com, and at the end of the webinar here, we'll have some more information as well. So as we do every week, let's look at the volume trends over on the pickup side. Yeah, that's a lot better. Bouncing off that trend line for pickup stops. That's really good. And actually a strong move on packages back over the trend line. So that's some good news. And look at that trend line. It's trending in the right, it's in a positive direction. That's good. So over on the delivery side, looks like that's even stronger now. We didn't make it back to the trend line, but a 9% move up that's good. We want to see some more of that. Same thing with the packages, getting back to the trend line. So some good stuff there. And then we look at productivity, number of routes dispatched. That went up too, but this is a very good thing. Your stops per dispatch went up 4.3%, getting closer to the trend line. So that's good. But when you see that, it likely means we're not adjusting to the volume. We're just dispatching the same amount of trucks or dispatches every day, regardless of what the volume is. So that's not good. That's how you don't make it in this business. That's a death by 1,000 cuts. If you just dispatch the same amount, or if it's a certain day, it's Monday, so I'm going to dispatch just many trucks. It's not how to do it. You got to do it the engineering way. So in the news thing, there's something going on out there. There's something that came up that has been lingering for the last 20 plus years. Here's a headline from someplace. Trump expected to take control of USPS, the Postal Service. Fire Postal Board officials say. Everybody on here knows, some of you have been through this before, but a lot of you are probably new in the last 5 to 10 years. This isn't necessarily new. This has been talked about one way or another for over 25 years. But here's the thing. In the past, usually talk of the Postal Service being taken over, changed, or privatized, or anything like that. Usually it's just talk and nothing really ever happens. However, this time around, it might. Didn't say it was gonna, but it might, right? But if it were to happen, this would be of a greater magnitude than a UPS strike. So why would that be? So if the Postal Service, and who knows what's going to happen there, but it's just the turmoil and uncertainty that would spook many shippers. What do we mean by spooking shippers? So if your business thrives on shipping things out, we'll just put it that way. That's how you earn your revenue, that you sell whatever it is and you got to ship it out. If you rely on the Postal Service, and many people do, you're going to move that volume away from there because you don't know what's going to happen, right? So that would be huge. The other thing is, I can get this. and this has been talked about many times before, but it's possible there could be contracts offered by the Postal Service to, you could get contracts. There could be contracts for mail, contracts for package handling. It could be the opposite of what happens now. So now UPS, FedEx, everybody, even Amazon have contracts with the Postal Service to deliver packages. It could go the other way. The Postal Service could say, wait a minute, we've got these packages, we need you guys to deliver. I'm not saying this is a panic thing yet or anything. It's just something to keep your eye on, watch what's going on, and that will be continued. Today, the main topic, the main thing we wanted to talk about is something called the multi-facility opportunity. So what's that about? So we've recently seen a significant increase in the number of what we call the business support system, the amount of folks, and a lot of you are on here, business support system clients. A lot of folks are getting involved in this program. So why is that happening? A lot of you are multi-facility service providers or going to be multi-facility service providers. The multi-facility service providers need the things that are offered in the BSS system. You need a method of standardizing the way you provide service. So doing it in one location, but being able to do the same thing that you do in one location in multiple facilities that's another level there. That's a different level of attention and systems and processes. And one of the things that the BSS system will do for you is that you can build an environment of employee trust by delivering reliable support structure regardless of location. Your employees, whether they be drivers, BCs, whoever, they want to know what to expect. They want the Big Mac that tastes like a Big Mac every single time, right? It's not just the drivers, it's anybody in your organization. BSS system improves operational efficiency by streamlining procedures. And that's the whole thing of the OPP part of this system. Uh, Doing the same thing over and over so that you can get the same results, right? And then the BSS lowers your overall cost from efficient processes and systems across your entire enterprise. Okay, so that's what you would want with that. But with FedEx, this is what FedEx wants to see. They want to see that you have these systems and processes in place. They want to see that you have the ability to do the same thing in several different locations. There's a level of trust there they would have that would tell them that they're going to get the same level of service that they get in one location. They think that then they're going to get it in other locations as well, because what they want is they want a standardized quality of service. That's what they're all about. It's all about service. It's absolutely positively has to be great service. They want, like I just said, they want to trust from, but you want the trust from folks by delivering a reliable experience regardless of location. That already. They want to improve their operational efficiency by your streamlined procedures. And they want to be provided a way to enhance their brand reputation, and they want increased customer satisfaction and loyalty. So they can't, the whole thing of the multi-facility service provider opportunity is if you can provide good service in one place, they want that same thing everywhere. If they get somebody who's new from outside the environment, we'll call it, you don't necessarily know what's going to happen there. So that's why they're going to proven service providers that they think they're going to get the consistent service. And that's what we're going to say here. So why the move to multi-facility service providers, right? What are the current landscape and industry trends shaping service provider growth? So there's a rising demand for low-cost route capacity and delivery efficiency. We've said this a zillion times before. Who's the low-cost provider of at least last mile services in the parcel industry or in the package delivery industry? It's you guys. That there's challenges like driver shortages, fuel costs, and logistics complexity. that, quite frankly, they don't want to deal with. They just would like to contract it out so somebody else can deal with those kinds of things. And then the need to replace non-suitable service providers with those they want and appreciate the with those that want and appreciate the opportunity. There's a bunch of folks out there that FedEx is the root of all evil. And just let me just put it this way. They don't want those folks around anymore. If you're going to run and they're doing it, they're replacing them in the network 2.0 environment. So why does scaling matter for contractors? First thing is many FedEx contracted service providers or just service providers are now expected to be able to manage multi-facility, multi-location operations. You may not know it, but they're watching and they're trying to figure out who they want to have run multi-facility operations and who it's not going to get there because you ain't seen nothing yet. You put it that way. There's been a lot of contractor turnover and there's going to be a lot more. It matters to service providers because scaling can help increase efficiency, profitability, and long-term stability. The bigger you get, hopefully the more stable you are. And then the third thing is multi-facility operations present new opportunities, but require a lot of preparation. Everybody, this is a good one. We get a lot of folks say, yeah, I'd like to get into this opportunity. I'm trying to get going. Can you help me out with what I need to do and that kind of thing? And one of the first things out of everybody's mouth is, well, because I'm gonna have 20 different operations in different places. I'm gonna build some huge thing, and that's great and that's good. And those of you that have been around a while know you can do it, but that's a very tall order. You have to, if you're going to scale into other facilities, there's a lot of prep work. We're going to talk about that here in a second. So are you prepared to scale? If you want to, what should you do to prepare to get ready to scale? So you need to be financially ready and have some funding sources available because scaling is not going to be free. You might get free contracts and whatnot. That's great. But you still have to have trucks. You still got to have drivers, and you still have to have all the other things that make it all go, right? So do we have capital available to do that? Do you have robust operational processes and systems in place? We say it all the time, but that's what this business is. It's all of your processes, it's systems. Do you have a consistent way to do that? Can you translate what you do to other operations? Do you have the ability to recruit, hire, and retain qualified drivers? Of course, that's the most important thing, is to make sure we've got not just drivers for today, but we have to be worrying about what about tomorrow? Do we have a bullpen, right? And do we know how to do that? Do you recruit one day and forget about it until the next time somebody quits? That's not how you do it, folks. You got to keep that flywheel going. Do you have adequate route and fleet management experience? Do either you have some ability to work on your trucks, or do you have a reliable way to get that done? Let's put it that way. Talked a little about that a little bit last week. And do you have a knowledge of multi-facility logistics planning? How do you run a multiple facility operation as far as the scheduling, all the different things that go into it, scheduling, management, everything. Do you know what it would be able to be, what it would take to handle multiple facilities? So we're going to talk about how some existing contractors that we'll talk about here in a little bit, how some existing contractors have scaled successfully. What steps did they take for current contractors? Right? Step one is optimize your current operation before expanding. So before you take on another one, could you be absentee? Could you basically run what you've got going without being there at all? Does it run itself? So if it does, that's one of the things that you need to have going before you branch out to something else. Second step would be Invest in data-driven route engineering like FRO training, not talking about route optimization and letting the drivers run their own, take their iPads and create their own routes. That's not gonna work in 2.0. We've said that 100 times before, but there's good old route engineering. That's a different thing, different than optimization. Successful contractors once you understand route engineering, can you build or then you need to build a scalable team with strong leaders in place. Do you have folks in your current operation that could help you start up another one or help you get another one stable while you expand into another operation? And then the next thing is negotiate additional routes or facilities through performance-based conversations with FedEx. So do you know how to talk to FedEx? Can you speak FedEx? Those operations, these opportunities are definitely going to be there a lot. Like I said, a lot of you have already had them or talked to them about it, but do you know how to talk to them about it? There's a way to do that, right? Now, what about new contractors? Those of you that are starting up, just started up, how do you approach this? First, you got to understand FedEx's performance metrics and expectations. It's not easy doing this, and that's the first thing you learn real quick when you get started is, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. It's no joke. You have to perform. So do you really understand that? Have you built a track record of reliability and excellence with smaller scale operations? So that's why they don't start you with, they used to, but anymore you can't start with, basically, if you get into this business, you're starting with anywhere from a 700, let's say $100,000 operation up to maybe 1.5 million or so. Those are considered smaller scale operations. Can you do that first, right? Are you able to handle that part first? And you want to show them that you can. Third step would then be focused on community engagement and driver retention strategies. Are you turning drivers over left and right? Because if you are, that's a sign that we don't have good management practice in place. We don't have any leadership going there. So that's one of the things you'd want to get going right away. We're going to talk about this probably next week, is BC evaluations. Is your BC, are you getting what you need to get out of your BC? Are you getting what you pay for out of your BC? And then the last step would be use it consulting. Yes, eTruck Biz to fast track scaling insights. So not only have we done it before, but others, we know that's what we do. We deal with lots and lots of contractors that have scaled or in the middle of scaling or want to scale. Now, how do you overcome the barriers to scaling or the barriers to growth? First thing is we have to deal with what we'll call driver shortages or implement competitive recruitment and retention strategies. Drivers, all about drivers, right? One of the biggest strategies, and if you've ever listened to anything we've ever had to say or come to any of our classes, we'll always tell you every time, you never ever stop recruiting. ABC, always be recruiting. It's when you stop recruiting drivers that your next problem starts. And those of you who've been around a long time know exactly what I'm talking about there. Next thing to overcome barriers to growth is identify costs to trim while reinvesting in strategic assets. There are some good costs to trim. You don't want to focus on the smaller things that really don't move the needle. We want to focus on the things that do move the needle, like driver wages. That's your biggest cost. Fuel. Those things move the needle. You don't want to worry about something that costs you $200 or $300 a month. Another way to overcome a barrier to growth is to use us, eTruck Biz, use our technology to streamline route planning and payroll management and everything in the ASM program and everything in the OPP program and everything in the EMP program. It's a lot of people say, how complicated can that business be? All you do is drive around and run a box up to somebody's front door. And if you're in this business, it's not like that. There's a lot of complex things going on, and it'd be good to get some help doing that, right? And then, of course, time management. Nobody has time. Delegate non-core tasks. That's what the BSS, ASM program's all about, so you can focus on the things that matter, right? Those of you out there, I know you do your own payroll and you do your own recruiting, and that's great. You can, no one's saying you can't, but that's taking you away from watching something like driver productivity that makes you money. Now, there are some success stories out there, and if any of you are on here, I hope to not embarrass you, or maybe I do want to embarrass you. There's nothing more satisfying than doing something that they say you couldn't do, right? I don't think our man's on here, but some of you know who this is. You can have multi-facility operations. You can have big operations that come from nothing. This guy here, I don't think he's on here. If he was on here, I'd ask him to say something. But he started as a preloader in Topeka, Kansas, and today he has three multi-facility P&D operations, one 36-unit line haul operation, and he operates what we think is the largest contractor run substation in the entire FedEx network. And again, it can be done if you just focus on some of the basic things that we just talked, right? So another one, don't know if anybody here is from on here from the JF Speed Enterprise, but here's a guy who I hope he wouldn't be embarrassed if I said this. He almost threw in the towel, but he now has 4 operations in 2 states, and his operations are wildly profitable. And I know a lot of you on here are going to watch this video later. You're going to say, you can't do that. Oh, yes, you can. These 2 folks, we expect them to be here in Huntsville in a couple, 2, 3 weeks. And you don't have to ask me or us how they did it. You can ask them how they did it. It is possible. And there's a lot of other people that are doing very well in the FedEx environment. Don't necessarily believe everything you read and whatnot out there. Okay, now the value and benefits to scaling your operation. One is increased revenue and profitability through more volume. It's obvious. That's maybe why you'd want to do it. Improve reputation within FedEx's network. That's a benefit because guess what? If they think you do a good job in one place and they offer you another one, you do a good job in 2, look out, sky's the limit. You can be Desert Fox or JF Speed. And again, becoming a leader in multi-facility operations. I got news for you, folks. That's where everything's going. Now, not tomorrow, but more than likely, if 10 years from now, if we're having the same webinar, I'll bet you most everybody's going to be a multi-facility operator. And then, of course, one of the benefits is long-term business stability and value creation. So you get started, you get a good operation going. Next thing, you get 2 or 3 other operations going. Hopefully, they're profitable. Then you take a look back at how much it cost you to get in versus what that business is worth at that point. That'll be a good thing. So we want to know how to do this. We talked about the business support system quite a bit. Let's see if Becca is on here and she'll tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm on. So we can definitely help you start scaling with our BSS, the business support system. This does consist of 3 different programs: the Administrative Services Manager program, focusing on all of those time-consuming tasks, payroll, recruiting, completing your monthly maintenance reports. We also have the Optimized Performance program. This is focusing on the operations side of your business, efficiency. And then we have the Expense Management program, controlling your cost and making you as profitable as possible. So this is going to use data-driven tools to improve and optimize your operation, build a team ready for growth through tailored HR solutions, and then reach out to industry experts for mentorship and advisory services. So you can contact me. The contact info, I believe, is on the next page to learn more about any of these programs and how we can help you. I would highly advise you to book a session with me and then we can go over all of the options, go over your needs, see what is a right fit for you.
Okay, cool. Here's the thing, and a lot of we know before a lot of things happen, we know that most everybody, if you can handle it, are going to be asked to handle multi-facility operations. That's the thing in the future. Let me see if there's any questions. Everybody's got it
Hey
all
Jeff,
down. Yes.
hey Jeff, real quick. Hey, doing some training with a couple new BCs this last week, and they got training from an older BC, which has now been replaced. But the training they got from the older BC was pretty much DRO when it first started. So it was very primitive. They're spending a lot more time on it at night. And it's not that the stuff's hard. It's something that's new, and a lot of times VCs are just afraid to try something new. So with helping these two new ones, they're going to get a lot more out of it, and it's going to help the team a lot more. That's what it's all about. It's just making it easier for everybody. It doesn't have to be so hard, but yet it seems like it's so hard. But if we can make the processes a little bit easier for everyone, I think it helps everybody. It does help everybody.
So you're saying that the complexity of what is now the FRO, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different, if you learned it a few years ago, maybe
In
you ought
2020.
maybe you ought to take another look at it.
Yep. Because it does a lot. It's got a lot more functions, especially with the 2.0. With getting those time criticals off by 10:30 and by noon, it's going to be important that you're utilizing it the way it should be utilized. Got another client out in California, and they started working with the dynamic anchors back in a year ago, February. Yeah, a year ago last month. And it took them a little bit, but they talked to drivers, and they're utilizing them. The BCs know how to use them. They recently took over or purchased another area, another part of California, and I'd actually been working in the DRO on that. And the plans I put together 2 years ago pretty much still work today for those two areas that they purchased. So a lot of times I hear, you don't know my area. My area can't do this. My area, you don't understand. Yes, I do. Because it's still about the numbers. And yes, you may have some unique characteristics where you've got, a mile lane for each house, that and the other, but the numbers are still there. And we can help you out. Just reach out to us. It doesn't hurt to take a look. Plus, it will save you time and money, because now you got the best doing it versus what you think is the best in your BC that you inherited, or BC that's been there forever. And we know one thing, that the one constant in the delivery business is the BCs and the drivers. Everyone else comes and goes. BCs and drivers continue to stay there. Reach out to us. We can help you.
Okay, cool. There is a question in the chat. It says, what is the minimum single size operation is FedEx requiring? So it used to be 500 stops a day. I don't even know, Bob, if there's any operations that small anymore. There's some 6, 7, 8 dispatches a day operations out there, but I don't think there are.
If
That's
there
what it
is,
used to
it
be.
just depends on the scarcity, where they're at, the location. If you're in northern Minnesota, North Dakota, Wyoming, something like that, yeah. But other than that, everyone still has, it's still different building to building. The best thing you can do is just ask and find out for your building what it is, because it keeps changing.
Right. Scale, we'd like to think that scale, as they call it, what was set in stone, but now that's changed. Man, we just talked about Desert Fox Logistics. He started with a four van operation. I don't know, probably 8, 10 years ago now, but you can build it. You can get something small and build it into something big. It's whatever you want to do. All right. So there's some more questions here. It says here, Mr. Sprinkles. We actually talked about that last week, Mr. Sprinkles. And a week before that, if you want to go to our YouTube page and dig up a couple of those past webinars, you're more than welcome to do that. However, we think that what will be the FRO and the FORJAP probably we don't know this, but it seems likely that you could put the two things together and eliminate the need necessarily for third-party optimization applications. You could. We don't know that they will, but more than likely that's probably the whole point of that. There was probably a lot of reasons to buy it, but buy RouteSmart. But that's probably the main one because the logistics of 2.0 is way different than what you used to. In the ground world, put a bunch of packages on a truck, get them off, done with your day. That's great. Yes, there's pickups and some other things in there, but for the most part, it wasn't structured or strict as far as being in different places at different times and having to pass stops that you otherwise would just stop and do because you got to be someplace at a certain time. That's a very complicated logistical problem. So that's more than likely why they bought RouteSmart, and I'll bet you it gets incorporated one way or another into the FORJAP. We think. I don't know. Maybe not. There could be some legal reasons why not. I don't know if that helps you or not, Mr. Sprinkles. See if there's another one here. I do about 500 to 700 stops a day. Oh, yeah. So there's some smaller operations out there. Yeah. 700 a day. Still, it's not anything to sneeze at. Is this a buyer's market or a seller's market? That's a darn good question. There are folks that are finding their way to the exit doors more frequently than in the past. We'll just put it that way. And if that would create a buyer's market, maybe that's the case. Maybe. Not, and I don't just say it's a buyer's market right now. If there's more supply than demand, but there's a lot of demand, there's a lot of people looking to get in, and then, that's that way. But I don't know. It's a good question. Good question. Any other questions?
Right there's another one in the chat, Jeff.
Oh, did I miss one?
Is buying another facility best to be close to the current one?
If buying another facility best to, yeah, whenever buying them or if FedEx gives them to you, that's what we're trying to tell you, that there are folks exiting, and as they exit, there's not always somebody right there to, let's put it another way. Sometimes the exits are not neat and clean, and FedEx has to take over an area. You guys that have been around know exactly what I'm talking about. The closer that you can have one operation to the next, obviously it's better because you want to be present in both of those places as much as you can. But if you have solid systems and processes in place, it makes it a lot easier to run a remote operation, if you want to call it that, or something that's not around you. But yeah, but there are folks, we're not going to sit here and tell you that this doesn't happen. There are folks that live hundreds of miles away from their operation. Some of them, as long as they have systems and processes in place that happen, whether they're there or not, they can make those things happen. Do you have strong leadership in the remote, we'll call it, operation? You got to watch that. Do you have a way of watching that operation when you're not there? Do you have a system? And not necessarily, you don't look at the DSW and that, yeah, that'll tell you a few things, but you need to know the health of your business, not necessarily just that Joe only did 50 stops yesterday or whatever it was. There's a lot more to it when you're trying to run a remote operation. You have to be as aware of what's going on there as you possibly can. So anyway, I don't know if that answered that question or not, but there you go. Are there any more questions? Okay. If that's it for the questions, we'll see you same time, same place next week. Thanks. Bye.